This Christmas, I've decided that instead of turkey, instead of ham, instead of all those other bits, I'm going to do duck. Now, a lot of people are apprehensive about cooking duck. You get some lovely ducks, and you can feed 6 people if you have another accompaniment with it. This is from the duck farm, Pick and Pay. I think this duck costs about 65 Rand, and it's just under 3 kilos. Now, the most important thing to remember when you are going to cook a duck is that there is a lot of fat in duck. Now, please don't immediately throw this fat into the dustbin. I'm going to roast it with the duck because the fat that cooks out of the duck makes the most divine roast potatoes, I must admit. And you can certainly use that duck fat where you would have used butter or whatever the case may be. Now, we need to get the fat, is because duck is a water bird. It has a layer of fat just under the skin. Now, instead of stabbing your husband, stab the duck. Nobody's going to take you to jail for that. If you make sure that you pierce the skin really thoroughly, then all the fat will cook out under the duck. And I actually kept the fat that cooked out of the duck that I did this morning, and this is the amount of fat that cooks out of one duck. So it really is important that you make those little holes. The next thing that is important, obviously, you must have enough Paarman seasoned salt. The salt helps to give you, the flavor is very good with duck, slightly spicy flavor. And the salt is another thing that helps to crisp the skin beautifully. So we salt the outside, then we also salt the cavity. And in order to give additional flavor from the inside out, we're going to use some fresh thyme, and because we're serving a beautiful orange sauce with this duck, we put some orange wedges. There you are, sweetheart. Important, cut off these tips of the wings because they don't look particularly nice. But the most important thing that I nearly forgot to do is just at the base of the spine, just there. Now, ducks need to waterproof their feathers, so they have 2 enormous oil glands. Now, the preen gland is situated just there, and it is a gland full of the oils that the ducks use to oil their feathers. And it can give a sort of a musty taste. So honestly, it is a good idea to cut those preen glands out. Now, once you've got the preen gland cut out, then we need to tie up the duck. Just put a tiny bit more thyme in here. And in chef's terms, we talk about trussing a bird or trussing a duck. Now, you can use a nice piece, long piece of string or raffia, seeing it's Christmas, we're using something special. You tie around the parson's nose, and then you go on top of the drumsticks and under the drumsticks. Sulke maar beentjies wat hierdie, then you just pull them together, and you go along the body with your string, flip her over on her breast, cross over the back, and now we catch the 2 wings and turn her over and tie it here. Now, the next step is dead simple. It goes on the roasting rack, but to crisp the skin up even a little bit more, remember that excellent tip we gave you about the potato flour to crisp the chips. Now, likewise, if you put a little bit of potato flour or rice flour on the skin of the duck, it helps to crisp the skin beautifully. Okay, sweetheart, Now you go onto the roasting rack, and we don't want nasty, greasy fumes in the kitchen. Now, a very good way to stop that is under the roasting rack. We make jolly sure that we don't drip hot fat in a hot oven. So we put about 1 liter of water, hot water, into the pan, and now what happens, it steams the bird, which keeps it beautifully moist, and there's no dirty oven to clean afterwards. So this can go in quite a hot oven, 190. When the duck has roasted for an hour and a half, then you start basting. And this one has been basted. You can see it's got this lovely mahogany brown color, and the skin is very nice and crisp. Now, in order to baste it, I'm just going to use the sticky marinade. It's a wonderful baste and a glaze. Pour some of it just out of the bottle, and then just put a thin layer over this. You can also do it towards the end. And then all the nice brown bits, you can see what a beautiful glaze it gives to the bird. And then you can go back in the oven with the glaze, and then for about half an hour you glaze it 2-3 times, doesn't matter, until your bird looks exactly like this one is looking now. The gravy that we're going to do for the duck. Now, the big secret of that gravy is that we are using a combination of this sauce and some frozen orange concentrate. It gives you the most divine concentrated flavor. We add a bit of sherry to it, you add a bit of chicken stock to it, and you can thicken it with a little potato flour in water or a little bit of butter and flour mixture, just as you wish. Now, I know that you're probably thinking, how on earth am I going to feed 6 hungry people with one duck? But as part of our menu this month, we are making these beautiful little balls. Now, the mixture that I've got in here, let me just unwrap this. I kept one out when we cooked the others. In a muffin pan, you simply put 2 pieces of bacon crisscross over, 1 of our sun-dried tomato quarters, which, oh, thanks Janet, it's just the quarters in the pack. And then this mincemeat mixture is a mixture of the duck liver, some chicken liver, which is stir-fried with onion just briefly, and some pork sausage meat, and some mincemeat, egg, bit of flavoring and so on. It is absolutely delicious. And the next day, I can't tell you how nice it is. Then you just make a fricadelle with this mixture, or a big spoonful. You wrap your bacon over the top, and it makes 12 of these exactly. This is what they look like once they're cooked. You can see the bacon is, and the secret here is to cook them at a very, very slow temperature. And we've actually stood this pan in a bigger pan with some water in, so that you get this gentle heat. And now the big surprise is when you eat right down to the bottom, you have this lovely piece of sun-dried tomato sitting there. I'm just going to cut one of them open so that you can see what it looks like on the inside. Now, believe me, the next day, this on a sandwich is absolutely to die for.